Hello, ladies and gentlemen, federal employees. Thank you again for spending some time with me today. If you are new to this channel, my name is Dallen Haws, and this is where we go over the tips, the tricks, the strategies that you need, the information that you need to get the most out of your benefits, retire confident, lower your taxes, all this good stuff here at this channel. And please join the community. Please subscribe so you can be a part of what is going on here. There are hundreds and thousands of federal employees trying to get the most out of their life and their future. So please join and be part of the community. Today we are talking about investing, specifically in the TSP, and the power that comes when we have a little time, when we have some patience, when we have some discipline to execute on a good investment strategy. The results that can come from it can be amazing. Now, if you're on the podcast, I will do my very best to walk you through the numbers, but there's going to be some good numbers here. So definitely check out the YouTube video when you have a chance, when you're not driving, you're not running around. Definitely watch the video so you can watch me crunch some of the numbers so you can see the power of what we're talking about today. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see, as I work through this, what the different results are. So I built out this simple calculator where it calculates what investments grow to potentially, assuming a few different things, right? And you can find this sort of calculator all over the net. One that I like quite a bit is just calculator.net. So if you go www.calculator.net/investment calculator.html, you'll find it. It's a good one. Check it out if you want to mess around with your numbers. But for me, I like building my own. So I built my own so I could use it. And I added a few little things that I think are helpful just to kind of see what numbers might be. So just to kind of give you a tour of my calculator, this is where you put in how much you already have in your retirement savings or in your TSP. So let's say, for example, you have $100,000 saved up, ready to go. It's in your TSP already. That's what you start with, okay? This is where we put our estimated annual return, okay? So let's say, for now, let's say 7%, right? Over the last 100 years or so, the stock market has averaged about 10%, but with other funds involved as well, let's say 7. I think that's pretty conservative. Let's say 7% average over your career, okay? Let's say this is how many years you have until retirement, and this is how many years you're going to be investing in the TSP and letting things grow. And then here is the annual contribution that you're going to put into your TSP, into your retirement account every year. So the contribution limit for 2021 is $19,500 for those under 50. You get another $6,500 if you're over 50 as your catch-up, okay? So under this circumstance, okay, let's make this a little bigger. Under this circumstance, if you start out with $100K in your TSP, you invest the max, $19,500 for 30 years at 7% return, you're going to end up with a whopping $2.6 million. That's a good sounding number, right? Now, we all know that most of us probably don't start out with $100K in our TSP at the beginning of our career. Let's start it at 0, okay? Let's change some numbers, see what things are going to look like. So if we start with a balance of 0, but let's say you're young, you're starting your career, and you're going to have a 30-year-long career, okay? Average return of 7%, assuming that you can contribute the max into your TSP every year, the $19,500, at the end of 30 years, assuming some 7% return average, your account's going to be sitting at a healthy $1.8 million, okay? Now, this does not assume that you're putting in any extra after the age of 50. Okay, let's see what that does. So let's assume that you put in $6,500, the catch-up contribution, for the last 10 years of your retirement, okay? So let's say you start working at age 30, okay? And you work until age 60. So that's 30 years of credible service, at 30 years that you let your TSP grow. And the last 10 years of it, you're going to be over 50, so you'll be able to do the catch-up. Okay, so when I click this, the calculator will say, hey, at the 20-year mark, which is age 50, you're going to start contributing the catch-up of $6,500. Let's see what it does. Right now you have $1.8 million. Let's see what it does. It pops it up to just shy of $2 million by putting in the extra $6,500 for the last 10 years. It's a pretty noticeable difference. Now, most of you are saying, hey, I didn't start right away. I didn't start putting the max in right away. What about for me? Like what can I do, right? So let's run a few different numbers. Let's take this away. Let's say you have 15 years, okay? 15 years left. Let's say you have, maybe you got started, let's say you have 100 grand, okay? Let's say you have 100 grand in the TSP. You have 15 years left, and up to this point you haven't maxed out your TSP. Let's say you can do 10 grand for the last 15 years of your retirement. So if you're starting with 100 grand, okay, you have 15 years to go, and you put in 10 grand every year for those 15 years, you're going to end up with about $500,000, a little more, right? Now, let's say your last 10 years of retirement, you can do the catch-up, okay? Let's do the catch-up. So the last 10, so that'll be in 5 years. Let's do that. Let's see what it does. Right now it's a little over $500,000. Let's see what the catch-up does the last 10 years of retirement. So now, putting in the $6,500 for 10 years, last 10 years of retirement, are going to bump you up to about $629,000. That's pretty substantial for putting in only $6,000 extra for 10 years. That's 60 grand. It adds more than 100 and some grand to your TSP at retirement. So, as you can see, the number that probably makes the biggest, well, there's a couple numbers that make a huge difference, but ones that we can control is when we start, right, and how much we put in. That is what we can control. And obviously, we all have different salary amounts, right? Your pay is going to be different, so maybe you can't do the max, right? Whatever it is for you. But what we can do is we start now. Wherever you are at in your career, try to do a little more. Even if you haven't even used the TSP up to this point, start now. And I don't expect people to go from zero to putting in a $19,500 every year. That can be a big thing, and you may not be able to afford it at this point. I don't know. But the goal is to be prepared for retirement. Now, the next question people are going to ask is, how much do I need over here at the end, at retirement time? How much do I need, right? What are we shooting for? Is it the 2.8 million, or is it the $500,000? Is it 100 grand? What is it? What do I need at retirement time? And that's a very hard question to answer, right? Especially because I don't know you. I don't know your situation. Because there's some people, they retire with 100 grand, and with their pension, Social Security, everything else, they have a very comfortable retirement and they're good, right? But there's some people that retire with 2 million, 5 million, right? And their standard of living, or the place they live, is so expensive that with everything, their Social Security, their pension, they barely make it by, right? So it really, really depends on your lifestyle, your expenses, a ton of things, your income level, your taxes, how you use Social Security when you started, how many years of service you have, what was your salary. All these things make a difference in how much you're going to need at retirement time, right? So it's a hard question to answer, right? You really have to look at your situation and say, hey, for me, I want a certain lifestyle, whether it's more or less than you're doing now, whatever it is. What is it for you? What do you want? And then to make a plan, whether it's with your TSP, your pension, Social Security, or all of them, to make sure that you can live that retirement lifestyle in retirement. That's huge. That is huge. So I'm not a huge fan of just generic answers, but let's do some math. Many of you have heard about the 4% rule. So the 4% rule, in a nutshell, is saying, hey, if you take out about 4% of your retirement savings, of your TSP, every year, right, then the odds of you running out of money are very slim. That's in a very nutshell. There's lots of other details, right? Then the odds of you running out of money are pretty slim. Now, you have to invest the money a certain way, but we'll keep it simple for this. So let's take our 600,000, right? And let's say, what's 4% of that? 4% times that. That's about $25,000 a year. So let's say every month. What is that a month? that divided by 12. So, according to the 4% rule, right, and I'm not saying I agree 100% with it, there's lots of pros and cons there, but I like it because it's simple and it's easy to show some rough numbers of what things might look like. Okay, so with the 4% rule, with a TSP at retirement of about 600 grand, it'll produce about a annual income of 25,000 and a monthly income of 2,000. Now, you're going to want to look at your pension, your Social Security, take taxes out of all of that, because we know if this is the traditional TSP, you're not going to be able to spend all 2,000 right here. You're going to have to take taxes out. And for federal employees, you have pensions, you have Social Security, and all of those primarily are going to be taxable. And so your tax bracket is actually going to be pretty high, relatively speaking, because you have lots of income. So let's take the 2,000 and let's say 50% of it you got to pay in taxes, right? There's going to be a 20% withholding, but at the end of the day, everything that gets paid out, let's say 50% gets paid in taxes. So that leaves you with 85%. Of that. Okay, so that means based on our very rough numbers, based on very, very just general rules of thumb that don't necessarily apply to everyone, right? A portfolio of about $629,000 would produce about $1,700 of income every month, right? And like I said, that's very, very generic, right? And I don't know, it depends how you invest it. It depends on a ton of things. But just to keep things simple. So what you want to do if your TSP kind of looks like this number is look at your pension, look at your Social Security, take everything out of them that you know that's going to come out, whether it's survivor benefits, your FEHB premiums, life insurance premiums, all those things, taxes, take them all out, and then add them into what your TSP is going to produce. And say, hey, can I live off that? Is that something I want? And with Social Security, are you going to delay Social Security, right? What makes sense for you? What about Medicare? Are you going to pay for Medicare Part B? There's lots of things to think about, but I think this is a great place to start, to say, hey, the TSP is a huge part of my retirement. How can I put a little more aside to give me as much monthly income as I possibly can in retirement? And like I said, like I try to say often, I do not want people to just eat beans and rice for their whole career just so they can have a nice retirement, right? I'm not saying you should just do nothing fun during your career just in order to save more for retirement. There's a balanced approach where you want to enjoy life now, but you want to be prepared for the future as well. So I don't know what that means for you, but you have to think about, for you, what does that mean? How do you apply this in retirement? And it's always fun to kind of use the calculators and run the numbers for you, but you have to then execute and say, hey, I want my retirement to be this. What do I need to do now to make that happen? What do I need? How should I invest my TSP to make that happen, right? How should I use the Roth TSP, the traditional TSP? All these questions that start coming into play when you start digging into the numbers, right? And numbers are only important because they support a lifestyle in retirement for you, your spouse, your family, to say, hey, we worried about the numbers enough years ago so that the numbers are taking care of us now, and we don't have to worry about them. You can have the comfortable lifestyle that you want / need. You can do the things you want without worry. That's what happens when you dig into the numbers. Not everyone's a number person like I am. I love running numbers like this. Even if you're not a number person, it's worth seeing what some of the numbers that you are going to have are going to look like. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. If you want more of this number crunching sort of thing, let me know in the comments. I'll do my best. Some people love this stuff, some people not so much. So I hope this is helpful. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.